Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Hey, good evening everybody. It's Militia Man and Crew. Here it is, an interesting week we have, and today is September 12th, and it's Friday. Happy Friday everybody. I'm going to do a few things. I'm going to go over an article tonight with you guys and everybody. I just want you to know, though, that I'm going to do a live stream later this evening in Patreon. So if you guys want to come in and join us, everybody's welcome. We have a wonderful Patreon room, and we also have a very wonderful Discord, Militia Man's chat room. And we have Super Samson's articles, and we have a wonderful host, which is our admin, Gigi, does a phenomenal job. So I want to thank them both, too, for allowing me to be able to bring this to you all. So I hope you guys enjoy, and hopefully we'll see some of you soon, tonight. Okay. This article today, well, yesterday, was, it starts off with Nassif. The U.S. Congress decision to revoke the mandates adds to the Prime Minister's successes. It says a Reconstruction Development Bloc member, Aliyah Nassif, affirmed on Thursday that the U.S. Congress decision to revoke the Iraq war authorization adds to the success of Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani in his government. This went out on X. It says the U.S. Congress decision to revoke the war authorizations in Iraq by a majority vote adds to the series of diplomatic successes of Prime Minister Shia al-Sudani and his government. It says this important step toward strengthening national sovereignty will open new horizons for improving relations with the United States and other major powers and eliminating legal restrictions associated with previous mandates. Some of the language that they use is really powerful, because if you break it down, we're talking about eliminating legal restrictions. Is Iraq under legal restrictions? I would suggest that they have been, and they may still be or will not be in a very short period of time. It says, when Iraq is represented abroad by men who impose their country's prestige in international forums, they certainly gain the respect and appreciation of the international community. So if you come in as a sovereign country and you don't have any negative things on your back, effectively, it's really important. It gives confidence to international investors. It gives confidence to even to, well, big things, but credit rating, for instance, things like that come into play, because security and stability and sustainability for a market economy is really going to be important. If we have all the collective things that have taken place, there's many things. It is one of the most complex studies I've ever done in my life. I'm not kidding. 15 years of this, and it's only gotten more intense in the last 2 to 3 years. It's really powerful. This isn't 15 years ago. This isn't because I've been here for 15 or 20 years like some of the other members, but the bottom line is that what we've been witnessing in the last 2 to 3 years is really off the charts in comparison, because we didn't know about all the things we know today. We didn't know about the new SWIFT system. We didn't know about blockchain technologies. We didn't know about XRP, Hedera, Solana. We didn't know about those things that are going to be utilized in the future for money transfers, cross-border payments. We didn't. They weren't even being exposed. Were they in the process of being worked on? Yeah, they sure were. They were behind the scenes somewhat. Cryptos haven't been around for 30 years, but they've been around for probably about a decade or so. So anyway, keep that in mind when you think about where we are today. The impact of this is largely symbolic of this move with the authorization. Okay, because Iraq and the United States and the coalition don't really work under that anymore. But the bottom line is it's symbolic in the sense that the Congress didn't do it over many years, but they have done it now. And it's possible that it may not need a Senate vote in the United States. It may be well enough alone just that they have done it in the Congress that is enough to allow them to be able to get that prestige back again on that global stage. And that's the whole idea for Iraq, is to integrate into the global financial system. I think the evidence is so clear, it's not even funny. It's not even just my opinion. I believe it's a fact. Okay. It says there are significant implications that may or may not happen, of course, but we should see what where Iraq fits into the equation. Interestingly enough, you're going to find that there is an interesting component of tonight that is regarding the IMFs, special drawing rights. If you guys know what those are and what they mean and who's involved in that, is important. And remember one thing too is that, I didn't really think about it in these terms, is that Iraq has been a founding member of the Arab Monetary Fund. That's a basket of currencies. And I also didn't quite really realize that they never ever left. I found that out the other day. And the interesting thing that I found the most important thing, because I kind of thought maybe I missed something, that they may have been cast aside for a short period of time, or not fully still integrated with the AMF, but they are. And interestingly enough, the Arab accounting dinar, okay, is a currency, but it's not for retail investors. It's basically for regional trading partners. And so, interestingly enough, the study talks about things like that. And if you know what the unit value is of the SDR, which you can Google and find that out really simply, IMF SDR valuation, and you'll find out that it's a unit compared to 5 or so countries, and that value is representation. But the Arab accounting dinar is legally capable through IMF rules to be 3 times that value, okay, of that unit. So if it's 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, you can do the math, okay? And presently, I think yesterday or the day before, I found that it was at 1.37. So you can see that there's for international trade and regional, no, not international trade, but regional trade between that basket of currencies, that number is pretty high, and it's fascinating. Okay, keep that in mind. This repeal of the U.S. congressional war authorizations against Iraq, it got started back, in 1991, and in 2002, authorizations for use of military force represents a largely symbolic but significant step towards normalizing relations between the two countries. While the practical military implications are somewhat minimal, given that no active operations rely on these outdated authorizations as we speak. The move signals to the international community that Iraq is viewed as a stable, sovereign partner rather than a potential adversary. This could have serious or several indirect positive effects on Iraq's efforts to integrate more fully into the global financial system, though direct ties to the repeal are limited. But symbolically, they're there. But it's a component. Got to have trust in this world. And this is part of that. Enhanced investor confidence, I talked about that. Reduced perceived risk. Those are some of the reasons that this is indirectly, okay? Lower geopolitical risk premiums, okay? It says the repeal reinforces Iraq's post-conflict stability and democratic governance, potentially lowering the risk premium that international investors and lenders assign to Iraq's assets. Iraq has historically faced high borrowing costs and limited foreign direct investment, which is FDI, due to perceptions of instability tied to past U.S.-Iraq tensions. With better bilateral ties, global banks and funds may be more willing to engage, facilitating easier access to international capital markets. And for instance, Iraq's stock index has been rising. It rose 4% in August of 2025. That's a big move. I think you guys should probably realize that. Okay. It's basically driving optimism. When you see a stock market moving and you see collectively over a period of time that it's just kind of ups and downs, but it just keeps kind of going up, that means that there's strength. That means that there's buying, and that buying's pressure, value goes up. So it says a boost to FDI and infrastructure projects. Iraq is already pursuing major initiatives like the Development Road Project that we all know about, the Al-Fa Port, natural gas exports. They're significantly increasing they're decreasing their flaring of gas, and they're producing it for export, which is huge because that's revenue. They have the natural gas, which is an input, and then what's the output? They sell it. So they've got it in the ground. pump it out, send it off, and sell it. They get both. They get both of the best, both sides of the coin. It talks about the improved relations with the United States can accelerate partnerships with other Western firms, reducing hesitancy over legal or intervention risks. This aligns with the 2025-2029 financial inclusion strategy, which emphasizes digitalized systems and resource-backed economic growth. So all of these things are starting to align. It says improved banking and financial reforms, the easing of U.S. imposed restrictions. It says Iraq's banking sector has been under scrutiny from the U.S. Treasury for issues like money laundering and dollar smuggling to sanctioned entities, e.g. Iran. The repeal could foster goodwill, potentially leading to relaxed controls on Iraq's bank access to U.S. dollar auctions and correspondent banking relationships. But we've already seen those things already take place. Dollar auctions have ceased as they have in the past. Correspondent banking relationships have been put in place, and we see that in the banking system today. We see from Oliver Wyman that there is a back wall for September 30th for actions. We're going to go over that later tonight. Okay, it's phenomenal stuff. So the recent reforms, including a real-time KYC. So if you don't know what that is know your customer, and then AML, which is anti-money laundering law, tracking, and SWIFT alignment. Look, Iraq at some point is going to be ISO 20022 compliant, and I believe able to do cross-border transactions in the dinar. And so they mention stuff like that. They're not saying it right there, but that's what I get from it. It says alignment and that are already connecting to global standards. Iraq to global standards. They're already reconnecting. Okay, but stronger diplomatic ties might expedite full integration into systems like ISO 20022 for cross-border payments. So in other words, they already use it, but now they're talking about expedite full integration, so they're in a hurry. That sounds really good to me. De-dollarization and currency stability. Iraq is pushing to limit U.S. dollars use domestically, e.g., restricting it to travelers by January 2026. So in other words, they're going to be getting rid of the dollar in the country. Well, we already know they've been doing that, but they're really got a deadline, it sounds like. It says January 2026 while promoting the Iraqi dinar through electronic platforms. So they're talking about, like I just said, getting rid of the dollar, and they're going to be using dinar in electronic platforms. Really? So the repeal supports this by signaling sovereignty, which could stabilize the IQD exchange rate, which is currently around 1310 per US dollar, and encourage international trade in local currency. International trade in local currency. I think we all know what that means. This ties into broader efforts like anti-corruption digitalization, compliance with the FATF, which is the Financial Action Task Force, rules, making Iraq more attractive for multilateral institutions. And so the progress toward multilateral integration. It says the WTO accession and global trade. It says Iraq's WTO membership bid, ongoing since 2004, requires demonstrating political and economic stability. I think we're seeing all that for the last 2 to 3 years. The repeal removes a lingering symbol of conflict, potentially smoothing negotiations and opening doors to tariff reductions and trade deals. So what they did in Congress is a big deal. It really is. Even though it's symbolic, it's a big deal. Combined with the regional pacts, e.g. the Oman and the Gulf states, this could diversify Iraq's oil-dependent economy toward non-oil sectors, enhancing resilience and global financial linkages. Again, we all know that natural gas, for instance, non-oil, it's natural gas. But they also have the taxes and tariffs at the borders with the IQD system. They have all the e-payments they've been doing. All of those things come into play. It says alignment with international standards. Prime Minister Shia al-Sudani has emphasized reforming the financial sector to end, remember that article? End disconnection from the global financial system. So in other words, they're going to reconnect to the global financial system. I'll read it again. Emphasize reforming the financial sector to end the disconnection from the global financial system. And it's via reliable standards compliant transactions. The repeal complements this by opening new prospects for relations with major powers. They used that again. It's the second time we've heard it. As noted in the article, which could include IMF and World Bank support for what? The special drawing rights parity and asset-backed monetary tools. That statement is fascinating, you guys, because even if it was parity, 1310, and if it was to equate to something similar to the AAD, I think the percentages are going to probably make you start reeling. Okay, so take a look at that. Potential challenges and limited direct effects. Says symbolic versus substantive. There's always going to be a give and take, everyone. But the repeal doesn't directly lift economic sanctions governed by separate laws like OFAC regulations, or address internal issues like corruption, oil price volatility, or regional tensions, like you see in Kurdistan between Baghdad. But again, any financial gains would depend on Iraq's execution of reforms such as capital reserves increase to in excess possibly of 400 billion IQD, they said. I don't think that's going to be too hard. And anti-smuggling protocols. Well, we've been seeing a lot of that in the news. Al-Sudani's got committees, specifically no leniency when it comes to smuggling oil. They're working on those borders big time. Kurdistan's going to have to understand that. I think the whole country is going to have to understand that. And that's the whole country. So it goes on here. It says short-term volatility. If the repeal leads to rapid troop withdrawals, e.g. by September 2025, well, didn't they just move a bunch of troops from Baghdad to Erbil? I think that's probably true. And a few, I think, maybe went to Kuwait and some other places. But ultimately, they haven't quite left yet because they're in country. They just relocated. It also talks about Iraq's vast oil reserves. We saw that they have somewhere close to about 145 to 150 billion barrels. They talk about gold holdings. In this article, they have it absolutely wrong because it's at 98 tons, but that's not true. It's even significantly more. It's about 162 tons of gold. But even at 98, it says it provides a strong collateral base for long-term stability. Overall, the impact of this is likely modestly positive, accelerating Iraq's trajectory towards deeper global financial integration by improving perceptions, diplomacy, and reform momentum. This could manifest in higher FDI inflows and better credit ratings, stronger banking ties, assuming sustained progress on domestic fronts are stable. Context, similar normalizations in other post-conflict nations. So this is something that's similar. It's happened in the past. For instance, Vietnam post-U.S. embargo lift have led to sustained economic booms through enhanced trade and investment. So that is, I think, is a very powerful article, you guys. And I think that once you unpack it, you can get this in this particular article and the data behind it. I think it's all posted in patreon.com with Militiaman and Crew. I think this piece is primarily going to be in Patreon. But I believe the whole article itself is actually in Discord. I might even have that wrong. I think maybe Gigi has done a really good job and put that in there. But I'm pretty sure she has now that I think about it. So thank you, Gigi. So that is what I have for this particular session for you guys on a Friday night. If you like the content, please hit that like button. Keep focused. Very good news is coming out. Thank you very much. Again, if you like, subscribe, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you. Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content. Subscribe to the channel, or join us at the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much, much appreciated. Thank you so much, and have a great day.